right now I'm just feeling just out of it, as in my mental state is not quite focused. I've long struggled with depression, anxiety, and dissociation. And for those that aren't really aware of what dissociation is, it's sort of like a feeling of disconnectedness, or a feeling of unreality or falseness. It's sort of hard to explain, but the more dissociated I am, the more things don't feel quite real. It's almost like, rather than living life, I'm watching a TV show of life. Part of my brain always holds that things are, this is important, things are real, the consequences are real, all that sort of stuff. But the other part, it's sort of like off in fairyland. It's like my brain's over here thinking of stuff sort of in the ether, and my body's sort of acting autonomously, right? I remember growing up when I was a kid, I would have prolonged bouts of feeling like I could see through other people's eyes. It was weird. I would be walking down the street and it was like I could see myself from an external perspective. It's like I was looking at me through others' eyes. I wasn't in my own brain. It was very trippy, and it still sometimes occurs now that I'm sort of here seeing out, but I'm also simultaneously, over there seeing in. I've spoken to psychologists and therapists and that sort of stuff about this, and the most plausible reason for it would be complex childhood trauma. As in, when you are dealing with things that aren't pleasant in your environment, you dissociate from them to keep you safe. This is the same reflex that would, or defense mechanism, internal mind thing, whatever, that would cause you to forget a traumatic car crash, or, to forget something. If you get into like a physical altercation or even just a verbal altercation, you sort of forget the lead up. It's shocking, it's traumatic. Same as car crashes, same as things that are just, crazy or violent or just explosive. The difference being is complex childhood trauma, prolonged lower level things over time, tends to create a mindset of dissociation. I remember growing up in my dad's house, there would always be this sort of steady stream of addicts just arriving over and over and over again. And, like realistically, for the most part, most of them were harmless in the sense that they weren't after anything other than the drugs, and then they were going to get out. But there was a few instances in which I was victimized, and there was a general feeling of unease around them all. Like every day, multiple people would come over, or we would go for a drive and we would pop into their house and my dad would deliver the drugs there. And this is this constant feeling of unease and not feeling safe. So I guess that, and this is what psychologists have suggested to me, that over time that has sort of trained my brain to dissociate. So if we flash forward to today, I feel a bit dissociated, I feel a bit distant, I feel a bit just out of myself. And it's sort of like, I've sort of felt a bit tired, a bit funny, a bit issuey. I don't know. I'm trying to sort of place the blame, or place where these symptoms lie. My first default is to always do a status check, which is like, well, am I tired? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Am I sick? And I'm none of those things. I've missed a few hours of sleep, but I remade that up last night and the night before. So I'm not tired. Physiologically, I'm not sick. I've eaten food. I've drunk water. You're getting the point, right? So most likely whatever's going on in my brain for whatever reason is mental, and it's dissociative. So that leads to the question as well, what do I do? So I just did a shift of work, and later on in the day I've got another shift of work. And I was planning on today, my original plan for the day, my priorities that I put up on my wall was, you're going to do the work, then you're going to do a martial arts session, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then you're going to do some writing and exercise, and then do the second shift, and then I've got my son for a few hours on my own whilst my wife heads off and does some dancing lessons. However, given my current mental state, I don't really feel comfortable facing a martial arts class. I enjoy it, I love it, but when I'm not in a good mental state, I'm just out of it, and it just sort of makes me not enjoy what I'm doing. It makes me sort of hate the experience, and I don't want my martial arts, which I love, to be something that I'm sort of just pushing through for the sake of it. You know, I'm not a professional fighter, I'm not competing soon, so missing an hour now for the sake of my mental state is well worth it. So instead, I'm going to go home, I'm going to read a book, I'm just going to relax, you know, play with my dogs, play with my kid, and, you know, have a coffee with my wife, that sort of stuff, and just self-care until I've got work again. Whenever something like this happens, it's always a bit disappointing in the sense that I have such high hopes for every day, and I have such an idea of what I want to drive and push for, but I've long since learnt that if I am struggling and I push and push, it means I'm sacrificing tomorrow for today. And over the long term, that's just a losing strategy. So instead, I'm going to rest and recover, take it easy, and just practice some self-care. So yeah, if you like what I'm doing, please like, share, subscribe, tell other people about this, what I'm doing, and connect with me if you can relate. Make a comment, because, you know, a lot of the stuff I'm doing here, I'm talking to the screen, people will randomly connect with me and say, I've been listening to you for a year, and I'm blown away and I'm shocked and it's amazing. But it'd be good to get more interaction in the moment, if that makes sense. So if anything in this video or anything that I've been saying here on my podcasts or blogs or anything like that, just connect with me. I appreciate it. Catch ya.